Right, what's up everyone? Another topic for a video today is pre-exhausting. How do we pre-exhaust the muscle and how can we use it? I got this question off a client today, so I thought it'd make a good topic for a video. Now, it's one of these things that it's not the be all and end all of training. It's not something that you're just going to go and do tomorrow. There needs to be a purpose behind it, and there's a couple of different situations and conditions where pre-exhausting a muscle can be good. Now, let's get into it. Now, for me personally, I think it's great for hypertrophy. Some people might use it for strength. I'm not a fan of that because I think in order to develop maximal strength, we want to do strength work as fresh as possible to build that neuromuscular efficiency and build technical prowess with the main movement that we're trying to get stronger on. So we don't want to be doing strength work under fatigue, in my opinion. But in terms of getting bigger and hypertrophy, it's a great tool that can be used. Now, how do we do it? What do I mean it's great for hypertrophy? Now, I've got examples here, but I'll talk about it now. Now, let's say we're trying to train our chest. Now, we could pre-exhaust and we could do some cable flies or some dumbbell flies, pre-exhaust the prime mover of the pecs, and then we go into a bench press. Now, automatically when we go into a bench press, after doing flies, our pecs are already pre-fatigued. So when we get into a bench press, that's going to be the limiting factor. That's going to fatigue first, more so than our delts and our tris. So the chest is getting a greater stimulus. Again, how many times have you seen it with the bench press? You might get close to failure, but your triceps or your delts are going to give out first before your pecs. So maybe your pecs always get a subpar stimulus from bench press. But if we pre-exhaust the pecs, we make sure that is the limiting factor on the bench press. So again, it can just be a great tool to use for hypertrophy, for maybe certain blocks of training. Not something you're going to do all of the time though, it's just a different tool for us to use. Now, that's number one. Also, it's a good tool to keep loads down. Now, as I said, if you're doing bench press, if you've pre-exhausted your pecs with some flies, you're not going to be able to use the same amount of loads on a bench press. Now, if you're someone who's really strong and you're trying to keep overall loads down and keep systemic fatigue down, let's say a pro bodybuilder or someone who's really strong, they could have to bench 400 or 500 pounds for like sets of 8, sets of 10 in order to get a stimulus on their pecs that they need to grow. Now, if they done some flies first and then maybe some dumbbell bench first and done bench press last, they've pre-exhausted the pecs. So the loads come all the way down, so they get a great stimulus without beating the nervous system up. And as you get stronger, that's a very critical component of a good training program and a smart training program, which won't beat you up as much and will keep you in the game for a long time, which is again critical. So that helps keep the load down. And also another good one is we're working around an injury. Now let's say, for example, I've had this in the past with people. Let's say if you go into the gym and you're squatting and you have maybe some groin pain or something like that. Now you can't squat to your heaviest loads. You could be someone who could squat 4 plates, 400 pounds or 180 kilo for a set of 8 to 10. Now your hip or your groin is giving you some problems. You could go in and easily do 2 to 3 sets of leg extensions, taking close to failure, really pre-exhaust your quads, and then that could take down the load from maybe 4 plates down to 3, 2.5 plates. So again, you can work around that injury. Maybe your hip or the groin pain won't bother you as much with the lighter load. So again, it's a way that you can get some good work in and work around an injury. Again, another tool that we can use. So also, one of the final points, it's variation. As you become more advanced in your training career, sometimes things will just get stale, and if you can have different, let's say, weapons in your training toolbox or your ammunition of what you can pull out to use to spark some new muscle growth, it's always good to have different and more tools available. So again, it's another great thing to use. Maybe if you're someone who's a decade deep and it's a real long hard slog to build some muscle when you're a decade deep, even just utilising some variation for a couple of variation like pre-exhaust method for a couple of blocks of training, it can really help instead of doing the same thing over and over. Maybe this isn't something that, for me, I don't think it's really useful for beginners as much. If you're someone within your first year or two in the gym, you need to focus on getting stronger on the big main lifts at first. I don't think if you're someone and if you're squatting 80 to 90 to 100 kilos, which is just under 2 plates, you don't really have any business doing pre-exhaust leg extensions before you squat. You need to actually get stronger on your squat over time. So I think this is more of a technique for advanced lifters. They're the ones who are going to get the most out of this. Okay, so just examples of how we could use a pre-exhaust, as spoken about, could be with your pecs. So you could do flies, could be a cable fly, many different angles. You could pick one, use that, dumbbell flies, and then you can go into a bench press, any type of bench press or a dip or any sort of main chest exercise for the day. It's a great way that you can use a pre-exhaust method. Also, as we spoke about as well, with quads, and let's say you do the leg extension. Another good one is hamstring curls. A lot of people like to do hamstring curls before they squat. So some leg extensions or hamstring curls pre-fatigue the muscle before you get into the main movements. Again, it's another great way to do it. It doesn't have to be leg extension then squats. It could be leg extension then into hack squats. It could even be leg extension, hack squats, then barbell back squats. Again, that's taking pre-exhaust to an even greater level. So by the time you come round to doing your back squats, the loads are going to be right down. As I said before, with pro bodybuilders, you take some of the best bodybuilders that they've ever been. Dorian Yates was a big fan of this. He used to do deadlifts at the end of his back training. Now, he used to do all things like pullovers, pull downs, barbell rows, and then he'd do deadlifts as the last exercise. When his back, his spinal erectors, rhomboids, traps, lats, everything, they were already pre-fatigued, and then he would do deadlifts again, just so he didn't have to use as much weight. So again, it's been a tool that's been around for many years, and a lot of the best lifters have used it. Again, it's another tool for us to train with. It's not the be all and end all of what we use for training methodology, but it's something else that we can use and we can throw into our training plan if we need it. So that's the video on pre-exhaust method, on how we can use it and why it's a good method for certain people. So just let me know what you think of the video. I'll talk to you on the next one.